who is our guest speaker today. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Дякую.
Otoj, I will begin by reading, and brace yourselves because I didn't know what to cut out. Just everything that Peter has done is just so important. And I thought it would be interesting to hear about Peter's professional background and also his church background. So I'll begin. Dr. Peter Kondra completed his Bachelor of Science honors in 1974, Master of Human Genetics in 1977, and Doctor of Medicine in 1981 at the University of Manitoba. While enrolled in these programs, he also studied at the Faculty of Theology at St. Andrew's College, University of Manitoba, on a part-time basis. In 1985, Peter completed his residency in child psychiatry at McMaster University in Hamilton and was appointed as Assistant Clinical Professor, Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Neurosciences, Faculty of Health Sciences, McMaster University. In addition to teaching medical students and residents at McMaster, he has been employed by the Ministry of Education of Ontario as a consultant to the W. Ross Macdonald Provincial School for the Blind, the Trillium Provincial Demonstration School for the Learning Disabled, and the E.C. Drury School for the Deaf. He is employed by the Hamilton Family Health Team as a consultant and mentor to 170 family physicians. Dr. Kondra is co-developer of child and youth mental health toolkits that is web-based and is used by many physicians and family medicine residency programs across North America to provide training in child psychiatry. He has also worked part-time over a decade for the Ministry of the Attorney General, Central South Region, Ontario, completing forensic psychiatric assessments of young offenders. Dr. Kondra has served for 2 years as board member of St. Vladimir's Institute in Toronto and for 14 years as board member of St. Andrew's College, including vice chairman and chair of the board development committee. He also served on the board of St. Andrew's College Foundation for 10 years. For 15 years, Peter taught Sunday school at St. Vladimir's Cathedral in Hamilton. Dr. Kondra served 2 terms on the consistory board of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Canada, as was chairman of Clergy Development Committee and member of Episcopal Search and Development Committee that recruited their graces Bishop Andri and Bishop Hilarion, and finally chairman of the nominating committee for the board. Dr. Kondra was part of 2 UOCC delegations that met with His All Holiness Patriarch Bartholomew. Dr. Kondra was member of the organizing committee of the symposium entitled Ukrainian Orthodoxy in the Global Family of Orthodox Churches, Past, Present, and Future. This was sponsored by Ukrainian Self-Reliance Association, a member organization of the Ukrainian Self-Reliance League of Canada at St. Michael's College, University of Toronto, May 8 to 11, 2014. Currently, he's president and choir member of St. George's Ukrainian Orthodox Church in Grimsby, secretary of the Hamilton Niagara Chapter of the Order of St. Andrew, board member of the UOCC Foundation, developing 2 new initiatives, Parish Revitalization and Clergy Development, and is serving a 2nd term as national president of the Ukrainian Self-Reliance League of Canada, TULS, Товариство Українців Канади, Товариство Українців Самостійників. Dr. Kondra and his wife Marilyn have been married for 34 years and have 3 adult sons, Roman, Mikola, and Michael. So here's, in a nutshell, Dr. Peter Kondra's CV. So I should mention to those who are watching us live, if you have any questions that you wish to ask, you may do so by posting it on Facebook, where you have Dr. Kondra's posting of this lecture. Look for it. It's just go down a few postings and you'll find it. So you could post your questions there, or you could text it to me for those who have my mobile. You can do so, and whichever way you feel you can reach me, by all means, do that. So again, I welcome Dr. Peter Kondra as our guest speaker today. And his lecture today is entitled COVID-19, a challenge to flourish or perish. Peter, the mic is yours. The video is yours.
Дякую. Thank you, Simon, so much. And happy Valentine's Day to everyone. I hope your day and year will be filled with health and love. And I especially thank Simon for this opportunity to have this conversation with you. I hope our discussion will be thought-provoking and a call to thoughtful action. I especially look forward to all the comments and questions that we receive. And with that, let's begin the PowerPoint. If you want, I can share my screen with the presentation.
Did you see the presentation on your screen? You did not see it? Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, hold on a second. I'll do it. Just let me put up the screen so that I see also what's going on, what everybody else sees. Okay, I'll try it again. Did you see the okay. Do you see the screen right now?
No.
No?
If you want, I can share my screen. I have the presentation ready to go.
Okay, go for it. Go for it. We see the screen right now.
Okay.
Good.
So the title is A Challenge to Flourish or Perish, and I hope it's not the latter. So the challenge. Pandemics have plagued us for hundreds of years. We had SARS from bats, influenza, polio, Spanish influenza, smallpox, Black Death or plague in the Middle Ages, and Ebola. Most were caused by animal to human transmission. As science and public health has advanced, we have reduced the frequency and impact of infections through public health measures, sanitation, water purification, and vaccines. Each one of these challenges has threatened us. So how do we respond? Our individual responses in dire situations vary greatly. Some of us will experience panic, paralyzing fear. Others, fight or flight responses, overwhelming hopelessness, and others, as we have seen south of us, outright denial. How can we help? What can we do to help us survive? First of all, we educate ourselves, how to protect ourselves, what we can and should not do. Science provides us with evidence-based information. However, if we can find meaning or purpose, then we can thrive. To thrive, we need to bring out our creative, inquisitive aspects of our personalities and communities. We need to examine our values, what is really important. We need to promote the concept of well-being, to nurture our spirituality, be mindful in our thoughts, and physical exercise. We must, above all else, remember the first commandment, love thy neighbor as thyself, and that includes loving our community, country, and planet. We must be mindful of stewardship, local and national and international environmental protection to preserve biodiversity and reduce carbon in our atmosphere. Our planet is in danger. So how can we thrive as individuals, as a community, and as a national organization? As individuals, we can focus on what is in our control, what we can do rather than what we miss and wish we could do. We follow public health guidelines, exercise, be outdoors, and be active. We call, Skype, or Zoom family members, people who live alone, our neighbors, as well as caregivers, to provide support. And we assist others within public health directives. As individuals, we can also establish support groups to share ideas and information by phone, online, social media. And we at USRL have been trying to do that with our e-blasts that many of you receive. And if you don't, please send us your email and we will forward you our e-blasts. We share useful information, help others apply for government incentives and subsidies, encourage volunteering in your community, support of food banks, Goodwill stores, as so many people now are in very desperate need. To encourage others, please post what you have done or what your ideas are on St. Sophie's Facebook page for discussion. I recently was privileged to attend the Halki 4 Summit virtually. Our patriarch, Patriarch Bartholomew, is known as the Green Patriarch. When he was enthroned initially, his first and top priority for his term or tenure of his office was to support the environment. And so much of what was discussed at this summit brought together the top scientists from various and thinkers from many disciplines, looking at what is facing us as a planet, as individuals. And one of the things that resonated with me is the pandemic is a symptom of a bigger crisis, of an ecological crisis that is a symptom of a sick planet. The planet is our living icon and bears the scars of all that we have done. Instead of stewardship, we have plundered it, and our planet is near a tipping point of no return. Climate change due to elevated carbon concentration in our atmosphere is already wreaking havoc, costing billions and causing extinction of many species that eventually will include humans. 2020 was the severest hurricane season ever. We must reduce carbon emissions and truly become stewards of this planet, especially the air, the soil, and the water. As individuals, we must change and embrace global values. Goal is not wealth, rather spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being. We need to support charities that assist in these efforts, reforestation, preservation of our environment. Nature Conservancy is one charity that I support because I know that it is a good steward of our money and invests wisely in preserving vast swaths of Canadian landscape for hopefully as long as we exist. We need to change our lifestyles, carpool, use public transit, and as we have seen during COVID, we have mastering the home office and virtual work. Focus on sustainable and stable renewable energy and not economic growth that is unsustainable, as is current population growth. Science tells us what the world is. Faith and spirituality tell us what the world could and should be. As a community, we can ensure the survival of our parishes, our camps, such as St. Sophie's, St. Andrew's College, our institute, St. Vladimir's, St. Peter Mohela, our museums, organizations such as the UWAC, TUS, USRL, and Ukrainian Orthodox Youth, SUMK. We need to be in contact with these to see what they are doing or how we could be of help to them during this pandemic. We need to initiate local programs to assist those who are in need. We will be known as a community for what we have done to help others. We need to broadcast not only liturgical worship, but also programs. And I'm glad to see that Simon has taken a lead in this with this speaker series, because these will help us with ideas and actions. Now is not the time for passive acceptance, but for action. Only by our actions will we be known and thrive. And of course, we have to follow the guidelines. As a national organization, we can share projects that generate action and encouragement and stimulate our ideas. We encourage members to think of new ways to engage others. Innovative projects will grow our communities. The reason I focus partly on the environment, not only because it's a crisis, but because it is a strategic move to embrace the younger generation that is very cognizant of this and very focused on this. And we can continue to merely go on our own way and miss the next generation and thereby exclude them from our community. And of course, with that, our churches will die. We need to support national and international charitable organizations that you know and are confident of the management of your donations. And I list a couple: the St. Andrew's College and its foundation, the UOCC and its foundation, the Canada-Ukraine Foundation, Aid to Ukraine. And each of you may have your own personal favorites. To thrive during COVID-19, we have seen the best and worst of humanity. Actions support a sense of purpose, of coping, and of competence. They elevate our mood and reduce our anxiety. Our community can grow if we act and act strategically. We surely will shrink if we fail to meet this challenge. People are attracted when they see positive actions, and we need to embrace opportunities for action that will facilitate the growth of our community. I look forward to hearing your response and your ideas. Thank you. Simon, you're muted.
I was testing your lip syncing capabilities. Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
So I'm just gonna check to see if anybody has posted any questions. Perhaps somebody in the audience would like to pose a question. I'll relate it. It'll be easier that way. Don't all speak at once. It was so well presented that Father Ihor cannot find a chink where he could present a question.
I don't, well, has he got ideas for programs or actions?
Do you have ideas for programs or actions?
We want to create a playbook at USRL of all kinds of activities and programs and actions that individual chapters can consider.
So, Father, because I've heard it so many times, I could recapitulate what he just said, or repeat what he just said. And that is that since the beginning of the pandemic, March 15th, that Father Ihor has been serving an akafist to the Chinese martyrs of the Boxer Rebellion. And every day, since the pandemic started in China, they have a particular mission to fight with prayer, and we must support them also through prayer.
Many people today say that this pandemic was created, by science, the purpose to bring down population.
So Father Volodymyr is saying that some people are saying that this pandemic was artificially created by scientists to lower the world's population.
Because you mentioned, but most of the food, meat and so on, that probably created. But until now, even I heard that on the news that the science did not prove where this pandemic came, but some of them told that was created artificially.
In other words, it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. People will generate conspiracy theories when they are afraid and they don't know what to do and they want somebody to blame. And scientists can be the scapegoat. We don't need scapegoats. Science is presenting us with a reality, and that is that it was passed on from bats. And it's not the first pandemic that came to us from bats, and it won't be the last. So you can choose to believe your fears and your worst and follow the worst, or you can choose to base your thoughts on scientific research and evidence.
Father Ihor he put up his hand. So another project that Father Ihor has is to try to obliterate or at least contain conspiracy theories. What are your thoughts on vaccination?
On vaccination, I'll be first in line. Actually, I'll probably be the last to get it, but I'd be first in line. So
apparently Father Ihor is going to be there before you.
Yeah. I mean, I've been, as a healthcare worker and frontline worker, I've had to, not had to, but it's been strongly encouraged that we vaccinate for influenza every year. And so I've been being vaccinated yearly for the influenza. And so why stop there? This is just another form of vaccination for another particular virus.
It's not unusual that our church talks about the environment, especially with Patriarch Bartholomew, who is known as the Green Patriarch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if our parishes on a local level do much. Can you offer suggestions what we can engage? I know that one of our lecturers, I think it was last year, he offered an idea that, and even the municipality would support us with providing us with bags and rakes and whatnot to clean parks, for example. So we have a park here, behind the church. And so perhaps in the spring, we could gather people. I'm not sure if we could do this now. I imagine we could, because somebody has to still do this, to provide us with whatever it is that we need so that we clean the park so we have a nice clean park. And just a small project towards the environmental cause. Would you have any ideas or other parishes that what they do perhaps across Canada?
I would really encourage the people, a group of leaders from the parish, people who are active and work, not the people who are the speakers, but the actors, meet with the young people of the parish and find out what they would be interested in doing. You always have to start with them first and see how you can then massage it along so that it comes to light. I think embracing the preservation of the environment is very important to them, and they will have lots of great ideas. And certainly cleaning up neighborhood parks is one, but that's not really reducing carbon dioxide from our atmosphere, which is creating havoc with our climate and our lives. So you really we need to be strategic, and we need to really focus on things that will lower carbon emissions.
So even kids who do come up with fantastic ideas, you're talking about a different level. So like walking to church, for example, instead of taking the car. Yeah. So a lot of us live further away.
Yeah. Fine, using a bicycle, whatever, public transit. Now during COVID, I think a lot of us have barely used our cars. We've been basically just at home. So the air has cleaned and cleared, but the carbon is still there. And we're not pumping as much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere now, which is great.
And perhaps even when the pandemic ends, many of us are going to remain home.
Yeah. That would be a huge benefit to the planet if we were able to. More of us could remain working at home.
Sure. Any more questions, perhaps, from the live audience in church? You have to speak louder. I don't hear you. Come closer. Please come closer. I don't hear you. Come closer. No, I know, but I need to hear you. You know what? Actually, you're my wife. You can come here. You can sit next to me. It'll be easier. I cede my throne to my wife, to my fellow bubble occupant, and my queen.
But
it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Yes, and I do totally agree. We have to be mindful of our daily, hourly actions. Like don't throw plastic bottles on the road. I mean, I see that and it just drives me bonkers. Reuse, plastic. Don't take a plastic at the grocery store. Take something from home that's washable, because those plastics that you put your produce in are not recyclable, and more than 90% goes into landfill, and it cannot be recycled. I get all that, but as far as producing carbon, I mean, what I've been reading is that Canada, its carbon emissions is a drop in the global bucket. I mean, the real nasties are I mean, I don't mean to be racist or whatever, is China and India. They're oblivious to the fact that they say they're going to eventually wean off coal and things like this, but in the meanwhile, they're still producing masses of it. And no matter how hard we try here, unless they get on board,
Well, I agree with you. I mean, there's absolute truth in what you say. However, we still are part of the solution, and we should not be part of the problem. So we should, recycle, recycling and all that. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, we have contributed to it as well as other countries. And now there are efforts to clean it up because it is destroying so many species of the ocean are being killed by all the plastic in the oceans. It's disgusting. So when you go beachcombing, bring a bag and wear gloves and pick up garbage because you'll find lots. Everywhere I go, and my wife, when we hike and all the rest of it, we always have a bag and we're always picking up garbage. And we're trying to
be bonkers, but there's not much you can do, and you don't want to touch it
because at least we can then make sure it goes into recycling and not just polluting the planet.
And someone else might see that, they might get the idea, and then just in general, be mindful of it. Don't throw cigarette butts. Sometimes I remember Simon, the guy was waiting for the red light. He throws his butt out his window. Simon gets out of the car and picks the butt up and says, "I think you dropped this." or a cigarette pack, or that's right, something like that, And the guy's like, "Oh," not too happy. He was not amused, but yeah, he took it back because there's a fine for that kind of thing too. So anyway, let's not get onto that. But yeah, okay. I just felt that I have to get that off my chest, so to speak. Okay, I will.
So there is a barge. It was on the internet. A barge was created, powered by solar energy. Or several of them, that's going around the Great Pacific Garbage Patch to pick up the plastic and recycle it or have it removed from the ocean.
One of the we're talking about things that we could do on a local or personal level, or even local. And I'm not sure how much, for example, our recycling, we do our civic duty by putting them in the bins, but the question is what happens to them. And my understanding is it's actually very little is actually recycled. So maybe
that would depend on each municipality.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what Montreal's is like, but that's something that we could all actually inform ourselves of in our local municipalities of what is our waste management and how can it be improved, and support the municipality in improving it rather than just landfills.
So that is an activity that our church could be involved in, right?
Yeah, local churches we're partnering with the local municipalities and trying to get them to be more conscious of the environment.
Got it. So any more questions?
What I see that will not be normal as we were before.
We will not be as normal as we were before, Father Bulimber says. This also affects our church. So because of the pandemic and health concerns, sanitation concerns, we can't do as we did before. We had to modify, change. He's very stressed by it. He's very stressed by it.
Well, I know in terms of communion, perhaps using wooden spoons, bamboo ones or whatever that are mass produced, or using, teaspoons and cleaning them and reusing them instead of one common spoon.
Yeah, that's a whole discussion in itself.
Yeah,
that we didn't know was something to be discussed. We thought it was always done in that fashion, and then all of a sudden this becomes a topic of discussion, and we're hearing that historically speaking, things weren't always done the same way, and that this common spoon that's become common today was not even used. In fact, I think it was even forbidden by canon, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it still is. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think that was removed. That forbidden. I can't think of the words that coming. Anyways.
Well, there's a whole 2,000-year history of different processes of administering communion to the faithful. Yeah, there are many that did not involve a spoon at all.
Okay, so I think that was all the questions. So I don't know if there's anything that maybe you would like to add that maybe inspired you in our conversation that we had in the last 10, 15 odd minutes. Perhaps you would like to say something else.
Well, I welcome more comments and more emails. So if people have thoughts, please send them to us and or post them. Let's generate some action and some activity, because and let's engage our youth and find out what their priorities would be and interest in this area, because this is just one way to engage them, and using the environmental crisis that we're in is one of them, and there are others as well. So I encourage people to be creative and see what the young people would be interested in doing, what kind of projects. There are many young children, adolescents who do not have families, who do not have supports to go to school and education in the core areas of our large urban cities. And a lot of our churches happen to be in those areas. And so the idea of having tutoring available, we have many teachers, retired teachers in our communities who could assist and sort of have an open house for several hours, a few times a week when school is in a normal way and COVID is behind us. I know several parishes who have done this, and it has transformed the parish. And an empty church on Sunday became a full church on Sunday. That's
encouraging. That's for sure. That's encouraging. I did get a question that somebody texted to me, so I'll read it to you. Do you have any practical advice for parents in talking about COVID-19?
Practical advice
in talking about COVID-19 to the kids, to their children.
Oh, there's actually a lot on the internet. There's all kinds of information for children on COVID-19. There's little storybooks, and you just have to Google it. It's all there. I can't remember the websites off the top of my head, but that's what I would do. I just go to Google and COVID information for children.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh, what a question? A final comment. The physical environmental crisis is a reflection of the spiritual environmental crisis. So by praying and fasting, each one of us can contribute as a warrior to improve both the spiritual and the physical environmental crisis. One of the problems that there are people who think that prayer doesn't do anything. What we need to do is to re-emphasize the power of prayer. That's Father Ihor. Father Ihor's comment.
I would agree, but I would also add that humans are made in the image and likeness of God in the Holy Trinity, And so we are tripartite. We have a spiritual component, mental and physical. And so, and our world is very much a physical component of our being. So our own spiritual exercise is vital and important, but that's not necessarily going to change the physical environment around us by magic. There has to be physical actions for the physical environment. It makes no sense that by prayer alone, you will in some way change the carbon dioxide concentration in the air. Unless you were praying for a pandemic.
Real prayer leads to real physical action. As opposed to reciting prayers to get your duty done.
Yeah.
I think you're both saying the same thing now. Okay. So
okay.
I thank you very much for a most instructive and different ways of looking at what it is that we do. We need to be reminded that, like, I think you ended off perfectly well, that it's not a passive activity. It's one needs to be engaged, and by that engagement, definitely you will see parish growth. So I think that is the challenge, is that really, if we don't engage ourselves, we will perish. COVID or no COVID, it is that COVID gives us new opportunities. For example, doing this, what we're doing, even though you have spoken to us physically, you came to Montreal, but this has opened up new avenues where we've invited people, like, for example, Vladika Job from Geneva. He would not take a plane here to just for a 15-20-minute lecture. We'd have to give him a whole weekend seminar at least. So this way we could do it. So that's great. So thank you once again for being a repeat guest lecturer. We really appreciate it when you talk. I remember when you spoke last, you actually gave 2 lectures, one on Saturday and 3 lectures, one on Saturday, and 2 on Sunday. And the second one on Sunday, people were informed, now you're going to do a second lecture on parish growth, actually, and you are welcome to stay. And everybody stayed. Yeah. So that was a very good sign. You'll tell them over the phone. I can't repeat that. It's, I don't know, you spoke in Polish? Okay. Oh, your wife is Polish? Okay. Today, they did a panacheda for a member of our parish who's Polish, and Father, you heard the Our Father in Polish today. So, thank you once again. I invite our audience for our next lecture, which will be on March the 7th, which will be delivered by Father Ihor Ochrimchuk from Ottawa, and he will be talking about asceticism, question. So once again, thank you for your lecture. Thank you for all who joined us, and hope that you have been nourished, both spiritually and perhaps academically. And thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you, and God bless everyone.
Everybody's in case you don't hear them.
Yeah. До побачення.
До побачення. З Богом.